In that model of awe, we kind of found 10 different elements, and we kind of loosely grouped them into three different like subgroups. The cognitive elements of awe that we found were the three groups were cognitive elements, perceptual elements, and emotional elements. And the cognitive elements were existential awareness. So in experiences of awe, people will oftentimes, relate to, a triggering them about thinking about what the meaning of life is and existence and things like that. Ineffable wonder. People will talk about, there's very much a sense of curiosity that's kind of almost beyond words. They want to know more about the experience, whatever it is they're seeing or witnessing, but they also want to like go beyond the surface of that. What does it mean? A deeper kind of sense of mystery about the experience. Experiences of awe are very, very oftentimes associated with openness and acceptance. A lot of the research shows that there is a very high correlation between people who score higher measures on openness, for example, and people who tend to report higher frequency experiences of awe, more susceptible to awe, things like that. Also, there is research to show that experiences of awe promote people to being more open and accepting of things, which I think is a real important, implications. And vastness is the other cognitive element, which is, everyone's familiar with. It seems to be the triggering element, and vastness. Oftentimes we think about like, seeing a huge star field at night, or a tornado, or being able to see like, far out, tornadoes or things like that. But vastness really can be triggered by just about anything. People can just look into, a lawn and look at the, all the leaves of grass and contemplate what it's like for all the molecules of moisture and everything in the earth to create that. And the idea of vastness can be, found right there in the grain of salt sitting on your desk in front of you. When you think about like how interesting that is, that it's a perfect like square, and then down on molecular levels it's similar, and just think about like how any single thing in your environment can trigger you into a sense of vastness and connectionness with the rest of the universe. Although some things do have the tendency to do that more likely than others, like tornadoes and star fields and things like that. So for the perceptual elements of law in our model, we notice heightened perceptions. Oftentimes when people talked about their experiences of awe, they noticed that things seemed clearer, the color seemed brighter, the lines seemed clearer, like they could hear things more distinctly. That their sense of touch was more individuated. They became more heightened about all the 5 different senses, not just so much focused on in experiences of awe. People start to realize like, wow, that the feeling of my goosebumps or hair on my arms, their whole body becomes more tactily aware, it seems like. The sense of presence. One of the most common things about descriptions of awe people have is they are not really ever caught up in what happened yesterday or worried about what may happen tomorrow. During experiences of awe, people are completely in the moment. And again, we know there is this definite back and forth relationship where people who have the tendency to get caught up in the future or caught up in the past, they tend to miss out on experiences of being awed, compared to people who are more in the present. But we also know that the relationship works the other way, that when people, regardless of how caught up they tend to be in the past and future, if they have more experiences of awe, if they become more open to awe or just, cultivate their experiences of awe, the more likely they are to be in the present just in general. And therefore less caught up in the past and the future where anxiety and depression, tend to lurk and live. And for the emotional elements, we a sense of profoundness, like that is the one of the hallmark traits of awe. Awe isn't something that kind of like yes, I had a little bit of awe when I experienced that. Like if a person experiences awe, it's like no, that was that the experience itself was profound, and they're kind of like, yeah, it was nice and everything like that. And I was actually a little bit awed. Like, no, if you were awed, it was more than just, it was just a nice kind of experience. It was a significant experience. That's a unifying element to the experience of awe. Numinous. There's very almost invariably when people describe experiences of awe, they say there's something about it you can't quite explain. There's something, and they get a sense that that something about it, it transcends normal reality, normal everyday life, and just a consciousness sense. Or for some people, they're touching something beyond life. For some people, it has a transcendental significance. But for other people, it's more like, no, it's not that everyday experience. It's one of those things that, like, yes, happens every once in a while, and it's significant somehow. Oftentimes there is an element of fear. When you look more at classical descriptions of awe, there definitely is more of this awareness of terror, and often things that can evoke the idea of being threatening to one's mortality, even though you're safe from it. So the idea of seeing a tornado, but from a safe distance, is, I think, that like a universal elicitor of awe, because it carries with it the threat to completely wipe out your existence, which forces you to kind of confront the nature of your existence and what happens when your existence can end. Whereas in situations of absolute complete danger, a lot of times people are just like too frightened or on autopilot, until it's over. When people realize, wow, that could kill me, but they're in the safe, kind of in the security of not being in an actual imminent danger, that can evoke awe very often. I'm sorry. And the last emotional element of awe is a sense of connectedness. Very, very frequently, when people have experiences of awe, they will talk about how, a part of it is that their realization or consideration of how they are part of something bigger than themselves, connectedness with the universe, with their fellow humanity, or nature in general.